you guys all know me. The only, and we're getting to be old hands at this. So the only thing I'm going to ask is that if you have a question, if you're going to use the chat function, if you would please direct your chat question to Sandy. You can pick that. You can pick either everyone or you can pick Sandy when you type in a chat question. And if you will pick Sandy, the questions will go to her, and then she'll ask them at the end of the presentation. Stephen has said he'd rather do questions at the very end. So just select, feel free to use it and ask questions, but just select Sandy and then she'll moderate for us. Okay, so welcome to the March bird meeting. I'm going to give just a very short introduction. Stephen Woodruff is with the Iowa DNR. He's a wildlife biologist, and we'll be talking about wildlife management techniques at Hawkeye Wildlife Area. But I will then turn it over to Karen, who will do a more thorough introduction if you want.
Steve is a great guy, and he'll give an awesome presentation and save your questions, and he will try his best to answer them. And if not, he will be able to get the answers and submit those when, you know, to us, and we can get them out to everybody. Hey, Steve.
Hey,
how are you?
Good. Good to see you again.
So
okay, and then Sandy will mute us all except for Steve, who's going to be doing the presentation.
Mute everybody, and then Steve will turn his mic back on.
Great.
Okay, everybody can hear me okay? Well, I'm glad to be here. It's finally a great evening where we have decent weather, and the ice is pretty well gone, and the sounds of spring are in the air, definitely. So that's one, it just makes people feel better, I think, when they hear and see wildlife moving about. Just a real quick introduction about myself. Again, my name is Steve Woodruff. I'm the Iowa Wildlife Biologist for the Iowa River Wildlife Unit. The Iowa River Wildlife Unit consists of public areas that are owned by the state, and we manage for other partners such as Fish and Wildlife Service and the United States Corps of Engineers. And these areas extend from, well, there's 2 new counties I got added to my unit. So so it's really, cover a broad area. So it goes from Cedar County to Johnson, Lynn County, Benton, Iowa, Tama, Poweshiek, Marshall, and a little bit of Mahaska County. So it's a broad area, but I consider it the best job in the world, even though I'm spread a little thin, but it's a lot of fun. There's something different every day. I was invited here to talk a little bit about our management practices at the Hawkeye Wildlife Unit, and I was glad to join in, and I'll just kind of give a snapshot of what we do or try to do. And it's a challenging area as well to expect, because we deal with high water events to low water events to normal conditions. So it's a lot of fun, and I just want to get started here a little bit. And I want to apologize a little bit. I got 2 screens here, so I'm going to be looking back and forth. So I may not be facing you all the time. So I'll be back and forth here with my screen. So I'm going to share a screen here real quick with my PowerPoint. Okay, I'm going to do that one. Then we're going to share it. Okay, can everybody see that okay? Okay, I want to start off here. Again, this was an introduction. I should take a photography class. This is kind of blurry picture here. I would probably got a D- if I was graded on it, but it was just kind of a long range shot of a bald eagle's nest that was newly developed. And this wasn't too far from here, down by the Iowa City area. And it's pointed out, as you can tell, you can see the bird up there on its nest. So it's good to know that we see several eagles around anymore. And we do our winter count up and down the Iowa River. And this year, there's still a big number of them. We counted well over 400 eagles that were wintering in the area. So that was good to know. Okay. Now, if I can get this to work, I guess I never did try that. Just a minute here. Yikes. It worked before, right? Yeah, no, it did. Oh, here we go. Let's back it up. Okay. It's just a little slow. There we go. As we manage our areas, we do a lot of invasive species removal of trees and brush. They really encroach into our grassland areas. That's one of our biggest challenges because they encroach into our grasslands areas. Some are native grass, some are cool season grass, but some of these species, you know, from Siberian elm to mulberry, white mulberry, honeysuckle, black locust. You know, but that's a kind of example of some of the invasive species that can encroach in the area very quick. And one of the birds that we've noticed that really benefit from some of this tree removal and downing some of these trees is that short-eared owl, which is a very beautiful bird. This was taken by Michael Fitzgerald. I don't know if you know him or not, but he did a very good job of taking that picture. And that was over towards the western portion of the unit over by the Oxford wellheads. That's where that bird has happened to be noticed. So we take care of a lot of those trees. You know, we try to manage it. It's a tough balance between grassland, woodlands, and so forth. But we do like to keep the grassland block area larger because a lot of grassland species need that. You know, especially there's some species of concern that they're declining, and we need to get habitat back out there that they can utilize and get an early successional thing too that some of the other birds like for the grassland, you know, we got grassland sparrows and we got Bell's Bureau, if I pronounce that right. There's a chat, even the woodcocks, things like that, utilize the edge and early successional tree growth, you know, from years past the cutting that comes back. But it's kind of constant management of keeping the brush and trees at bay. And then also one of the birds out there that we're managing for is the barn owl, and very unique bird. I remember having those in my barn when I was a kid. You know, I'd go up there and you'd see them up on the top rack up there doing their thing. But here's a nest structure that we've been putting out there. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not, but we have a few of those out there with our new avian biologist, Anna. She wants us to monitor these a little closer. So we've been doing a really good job of keeping them close eye on them. We had an area, we had 2-3 boxes, and they were being used by barn owls, which was really cool. Unfortunately, the derecho hit and just wiped them out. I mean, it just laid them flat, and we lost what little guys we had in there. So now, of course, the great horned owl is kind of a predator on these birds too. So it's a constant battle for these things, and they are a bird of concern and very unique. And we're just trying to do what we can to improve their population. And it's kind of neat though that they use these type of structures. You know, you just don't see them. You would think use that. You know, always think they're in the barn or a shed or somewhere like that, but they do utilize them. And then on that post too, you can kind of see that's kind of a predator guarded away. So if something climbs up to it like a raccoon or something like that, they have a tougher time climbing and trying to get to the hole of the box. But this kind of gives some dimensions. It's not really clear probably on your slide, but if people are interested, you know, I can always forward those diagrams and dimensions and things on if they want to take on putting up a barn owl nest or something like that. Here's the inside of a barn owl box, you know, with the clutch right there, and it's very unique. And I might ask a question later on, but I've always noticed on a barn owl egg, it's got like a flat spot on it, and when it's on a flat board or something up on a shelf up in a barn or something, that way they have a tendency not to roll off. But at the end of this presentation, you can maybe tell me if I'm wrong or not, but that's one of my observations. So pretty neat stuff, really. Here's just kind of a picture of myself, Tom Billerbeck, I'm sure you know him, and Dave Nicholson. And every year we do a Canada goose roundup, and that's usually towards the last 3rd or 4th week of June. That's when the adult geese are flightless. You know, they lose or molt their flight feathers, And then we round them up. We can usually, they don't fly as well. Sometimes they can get away, but usually we just herd them up like cattle. It's amazing. I don't know if you've seen it before or not. And then we get canoes or kayaks around them in the open water, depending where we're going. And we set up a temporary catch bin with like a funnel throat on it. And we just drive them right up there, walk right in there, and we band them and we sex them and determine that. If there's recaps that already have bands on them, then that's our research, and it helps us determine kind of the population and health and movement of the Canada geese. And here's just a picture of some goslings that are pretty young yet, and I just want to take a quick picture of those. So again, it's a lot of fun. This was kind of a unique picture. Actually, I found my way to this one by sense of smell. And I was out walking in the woods or somewhere, and I just smelled something dead. And, you know, I have the curiosity, so I keep going around, and I guess that's a good test for COVID. And I was out there, and I just kind of smelled it, and then I just saw a big tree that was hollow. And I go, I wonder if there's something in there. And I was expecting like a dead coon or something in there, but I looked down in there and took a picture of this turkey vulture with its young, which I have never seen up close like this before. So I thought that was really unique. But as you can tell off to the one side there, that's probably what we smell. You know, not only with brush and tree management for keeping the prairie grass open for certain grassland species, birds, and we'll get into other species as we go along here. We manage and manipulate water levels for various birds that migrate through the area. One is their spring elevation. I don't know if these numbers mean anything or not, but it's 679, and that's fairly low, and that should take effect here shortly. And that's controlled by the U.S. Corps of Engineers for this time of year, and that really opens up mudflats for the shorebird migration. And there's just thousands and thousands of shorebirds that come through, and it's very popular for people to go out and observe that too during that migration period. I know the new U.S. Corps of Engineer water level management plan is coming out, and there's a combination of things that they got to work with, you know, with wildlife, fisheries, and so forth. But they're determining there might be a band where they'll keep it the 683, which is at right now, and there is substantial amount of mudflats out there with that level too. But the 679, we found that it's pretty detrimental on the fish population. So it's kind of a balancing act of what we want to do, because, you know, the dissolved oxygen and spawning period, you know, it's tough on the spawning of certain fish. So everything kind of goes hand in hand, and we try to find a balance for everybody. And but even if we stay at 60, go to 683, which is its current level right now, it still provides plenty of mudflat shore exposure for migrating shorebirds. So that was pretty neat. Then during the summer, of course, that 683 is right there, and by their rules, what the current rule is, going from 679 to 683 has to be in by Memorial Weekend. That's for the recreational boaters and stuff on the lake itself. That's kind of the level it's maintained. Then in the fall, this is where I come into play. There's a conservation pool level, or band, I should call it that I can manipulate the water level in the fall to a maximum right now at 686.4. And that's the max I can go. It's about 3 foot increase. And I gradually increase that level starting in September, because that kind of deals with the teal hunting season. And then a little bit more, I go by like 6-inch increments every couple of weeks or something. And then for the waterfowl season, the urban goose hunt. And then, you know, I raise it to the max level a little bit at a time till about November, mid-November, somewhere in there where I get it maxed out and just hold it there. And, you know, a lot of waterfowl use this area. And of course, it's a very popular hunting area also. And then in the fall, or in the winter, I'm sorry, usually first part of December, mid part of December, by Corps guidelines and the management agreement within that management plan, they drop the water level down. That's kind of more of a safety issue with shelf ice and things like that. They got to be very concerning and careful with the public that are on the ice. or want to be kind of getting on the ice that time of year. I've, talked to them different times about, I got herps out there that it can affect those a little bit. So we're kind of working those things out, but I don't know if that'll change or not, because they got to get the water out, because then there's flood risk that they got to tend to. So it's a lot of factors involved where how that water level is manipulated later on. But then it goes back down to 683 for the remainder of the winter, and it stays pretty constant there unless we have a big water event. And then come spring again, then we start raising it back all over again. It drops down, and in the summer stays the same at 683, and then you raise it up in the fall. But anyway, again, we have some high water events that take place. As you can see in this picture here, I guess everybody can remember the 2008 flood. That was pretty devastating. But it's part of the management practice. When it gets to a certain elevation, I think it's 707. If that happens in the fall during my conservation pool ban, that goes out the window, and it's all flood risk management from there. And then the Corps takes over, and it's up to them. And I don't really have any say, which is understandable, because they got to maintain as less flood damage risk, or you want to call it, upstream, downstream, and it's a lot of involved work that they got to try to tend with.
Stephen, there's a question. What does the MSL
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Mean sea level.
Thank you.
You bet. For surveyors, that's something to go by. There's 1988 mean sea level that it deals with the elevation in Iowa, actually countrywide or nationwide, and we are at the mean sea level of 686. So from the 0 point, which is on the ocean somewhere, right at the shoreline. So that's how they kind of determine that. I hope that answers your question. Okay. Then again, we have that drawdown in the spring or through the winter, and in the spring it has exposed mud flats, which is very popular to shorebirds. I don't know how well you can see on your picture there, but there's specks of shorebirds out there, and some ducks and things like that utilize them, which is very, very, very cool to see. There's another example of some mud flats exposed. And you kind of see some willows in the foreground and so forth. Willows are another thing that we deal with to try to manage. If we didn't touch them or do anything, they would really take over in that bottom ground like that. And if it's a stagnant, solid willows, doesn't provide that great a habitat for a variety of species that we're trying to manage for. And also another one is reed canary grass. That's just a monoculture type cool season grass that doesn't provide the greatest habitat for multiple species. And its managers, we try to manage for as many species we can, the popular game species for hunting, to non-game, to songbirds, to grassland tree birds, and turtles, herps, wildlife like deer, turkeys, just a variety of things. And it's a balancing act, but if we try to do the best we can, it will benefit a lot of other species too. So here's, we're talking about invasive species. We're in the woodlands. This is honeysuckle, and it really overtakes a woodland, and it's tough even for us to walk through. It's tough for the wildlife to get through. I've been places that's so thick where I could barely crawl through it during the winter, and you can hardly find a track in there of any type of wildlife. So you're just trying to open it up, and here's an example here of once you get that honeysuckle out there, it really opens it up and benefits a lot of different things. And that is one of our biggest challenges in our woodlands is honeysuckle. And we were fortunate enough to be able to purchase a new piece of equipment this year. And we had a lot of partnerships that chipped in on this to help purchase it, from Pheasants Forever to Turkey Federation, Whitetails Unlimited, and so forth, that really, really helped. So we can start getting a handle on some of this honeysuckle encroachment and infestation of certain plants. Then once you open it up, then the next battle is garlic mustard. So it's always something it's never one silver bullet. Always got to keep managing it. So forth. And then after this, a lot of times we go back in during the dormant season and these invasive species hold on to their leaves and stay green. So everything else is dormant. So we go back and try do a chemical application of Roundup, and which is a systemic chemical, and it just attacks green leaves of a plant, and this sprout or young resprout absorbs that chemical and helps kill it, while the other ones are dormant, won't absorb the chemical, so they're unharmed usually. So that's the kind of a management plan we're kind of leaning towards now. Then again, you know, we do some farming, cropping, and down in the bottom grounds. This is before I got here just to speak. That come next week, I'll be here 3 years now. It's amazing how fast that goes. But we used to farm roughly 3,000 acres of area down here, but we kind of backed that off. We're down about to 1,000 acres. But these are some crucial areas where if we didn't farm it or crop it, it would just be inundated with reed canary grass, or willows would take over. So this kind of gives a diversity of wildlife, and then we can also provide a food source too during the fall and winter for wildlife to take in benefit of that. Although we've been struggling though, the high water events for the last couple of years since I've been here, we had a really nice crop coming on. And then we had that high water in June, July, somewhere in there, and basically drowned everything out. And then the farmer tried to regrow some peas, and but I don't think they turned out very well because it was so late, and had a hard time getting that established. But in fields like this, with that green, the geese like to graze out there. Occasionally, you might see a sandhill crane. I've seen a handful of those out there in the last few years now, kind of hanging around, so which is good to have. And where we have a lot of sandhill cranes is over at Otter Creek Marsh over by Chelsea. If you ever want to go take a look, there's some private fields just to the north where they kind of roost and hang out during their migration, and count as many as a couple hundred out there. So probably not as many as other places, but it's kind of neat for central or this part of the state. So, here's an example. Not only we did some tree removal, but it also benefits the bobwhite quail. They like this type of down tree activity, or down trees like this where they can take cover. It's open underneath, kind of like they have a place to tunnel, and they're kind of protected from overhead predators, things like that. And they really utilize that. And this here looked like mulberries and some elm, and probably some ash too. Probably getting a few ash cut. I think they're going to die anyway, those ash, because the emerald ash borer is coming in so strong. And sometimes it's better to get the tree down while it's still somewhat alive, because if you cut when it's dead, then you got an overhead hazard of a dead limb or something that could fall on you too on the Sawyer. So, but this provides really excellent bobwhite quail habitat. So that's something we also manage for quite heavily here at the Hawkeye unit. A fair number a population of quail in this area, so it's good. And pheasants too. We got a pretty good number of pheasants that people utilize and hunt during the fall. Here's just an example. In the background, you can see the standing trees, but some of these standing trees, like cottonwood, for example, they have such a huge seed source, and it just, they pump out a lot of seed every year, and then that floats out into the grassland, and we got young cottonwood coming up. And then around this wetland, we, you know, this is kind of an older picture, but where we cut the cottonwood down or whatever, it's trying to maintain that wetland so it stays open for waterfowl that like to use that. And off the right-hand side, there is a wood duck box that they do use. So, and you know, amphibians are pretty popular in this these type of wetland settings also. Here's some other things. This is kind of shows the grassland where the trees have encroached and got out there and really can really affect some ground nesting birds. Just for example, the blue-winged teal. There's been studies on those where they won't get near a tree any closer than about 120 feet. So that's pretty substantial. You put 3-4 trees out there, and that covers up a whole field that they're not comfortable to nest in. So just getting those few trees down really benefits the blue-winged teal to nest in those grassland areas. And even some other grass nesting species that utilize that. And they, and this is part of, you know, this is the constant battle, we got encroachment going on And we're kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit because some of this has been neglected a little bit for the last several years, and but we're trying to pick up the pace a little bit and get that open back up for grasslands. Here's a site here. We call them the sand prairie or sand dune. This site, I didn't have a before picture, but it was pretty thick with scattered smaller cedar trees, autumn olive, probably a few ash, and some Siberian elm. That was just pretty kind of a ratty field area for that. But this was historically by doing our soil samples, their soil maps and things. This is called a sand dune, and it's very important for a particular species that's Iowa threatened, that we're doing a lot of work here and also up at Dudgeon Lake near Vinton, Iowa. And that's the ornate box turtle. So they require a lot of open ground sand. They inhabit that sand dunes, and what it was before, they were not in there. But this, we do have an area where there's a pretty good population. You know, it's on that Mallard Pool Road, you know, back up in there, if you're familiar with that. And but we're expanding the ornate box turtle habitat by clearing that one area. And this is just on Swan Lake Road, west of the building there, a little ways. You probably notice if you drive by there. And you know, and we planted to a high diverse forb seeding. Forbs are like wildflowers, and just a big variety of flowers. And then not only does it provide good habitat for the ornate box turtle, it provides pollination for the monarch that we're having troubles with nowadays. And so if we provide pollination for the butterflies, you know, it's milkweed basically. You know, there's world milkweed, butterfly milkweed, common milkweed, very important to the monarch. And also the flowering plants are very good for a federally endangered species we have is the rusty patch bumblebee. I never thought in my career, you know, going into this business, you know, I was deer, turkey, pheasants, you know it. And now we're going from turkeys, the deer, all the way down to an insect, and trying to help and manage and protect as many different species as we can. And it's a big job, but we do have them out here. We did a survey 2 years ago and we found them. So they're out there, and now we just try to provide the best management practice we can for the bees and everything else that's involved out there. And then this is kind of a neat picture of that ornate box turtle, how they have that red eye. I don't know if you ever seen one up close or not, but they're actually kind of a pretty turtle. And they got red spots on their legs, and they're kind of yellowish on their belly. And then another turtle, I don't have a picture here, is the Blaming's turtle. That's another species of concern that we manage for and providing, you know, shallow marshland type atmosphere and getting the trees back. They need that too. So here's another one. Probably everybody don't like snakes, but this is a fox snake. It's kind of common out there, but I thought it was kind of neat. Came across this one day, and he was showing his aggressiveness a little bit, but they're out there too, and it's just they're needed also for doing their part out there in the wildlife area. This one here I stumbled across bull snake, and which is neat how to identify that bull snake is if you can see the head here. Where if you can see that, it's kind of got the yellowy type head, but it comes to a really sharp point. Because sometimes people confuse a bull snake with a fox snake, and it can easily be done. And you can't look at the pattern here, but just looking at the head, it comes to a really sharp point. Is a bull snake, and some people say that's a rattlesnake. Well, it's not. They got a really big head, and they're really wide at the base of the jaw, and of course the rattles. So, but I have not seen a rattlesnake around this area ever. So, but they're not really inhabiting this area anyway. So I know there's some prairie rattlers over in Plymouth County way in Western Iowa, but that's a really small population. And then they got the Massasauga up at Sweet Marsh up in county is that Bremer County. So we don't really have any rattlesnakes around here. And then, of course, this is just kind of an overview of Hawkeye looking to the west, and kind of a cloudy day that day, but it just kind of overview of it's just a big area, and you can kind of see the mud flats out there, and then some other things incorporated in the fall or in the summer, I should say. We do for waterfowl hunting, we do aerial fly on some rye and and that kind of greens up during the summer, and then we put a little water on it. It's great food for the waterfowl, and that helps hold them in the place too for either observation or hunting too. So kind of a catch all there. So, you know, there's our favorite friend there, the old pelican, and they're out there too. I've seen them in the area, so I'm sure everybody else has too. But it's question time, so you can open it up, and I can answer some questions the best I can. If not, I'll write them down and find out the answer and get back with you. So I'd be happy to take questions.
Some of the questions that came in while you were talking were, are invasive species always non-native?
Most of them are non-native. They just seem to take over. There's some invasive species that are common, be like a willow, sandbar willow. That's a native plant, but they can be invasive. But more than likely, most of them are invasive species that are non-native.
Okay. If anybody, I also have a comment that timber rattlesnakes in Maquoketa area, that there are timber rattlesnakes in the Maquoketa area where we live, and ornate box turtle eye color, red or yellow, sex dependent?
Most of the time, you know, I haven't looked at it close, but most of the time there are red. Blanding's turtle's eyes are yellow. I know that. So to determine male or female, I almost have to look at the base of the shell. If it's concave, is the male, and if it's flat, it's the female. And if it's yellow, it could be a younger one too, and it hasn't fully developed its colors. That's a good question. I'll check it out. And then what was the other, Massasauga or a timber rattler in Marengo area? Was it?
Maquoketa.
Oh, Maquoketa. Well, I could probably see that. You know, that's further to the east, so up along the Mississippi River there. I think that's where that's at. So yeah, it's possible.
Okay, other questions coming in, folks. If you've got questions from this point, you can unmute and just ask.
Yeah.
Somebody is asking, where did you say there are a group of sandhill cranes in fields on the Hawkeye Wildlife Management Area?
The most I've seen is Otter Creek Marsh, which is in Tama County by Chelsea, Iowa.
And another question, what is the coyote situation in these areas?
They're pretty healthy. I mean, a fair number of coyotes. I know there's groups of people that go out and hunt them every year, but the biggest detriment on the coyote, you know, for killing them, I guess, if you can call it that, is the mange. That's hard on coyotes. That's very hard on red fox and gray fox too. Unfortunately, the gray fox population is way down there. It's kind of almost scary, but I did see one a couple years ago in the Hawkeye area, the gray fox. But coyotes, they're holding their own, and you know, it's a pretty. I think when we had a meeting, there was a record number of coyotes harvested last year. So, but yeah, it's surprising how many people go out and harvest the coyote.
Why do they? I was the one who asked the question. I'm from Colorado, and because of the development out there, urban coyotes are everywhere. I mean, you see them in your backyard. I mean, they're just everywhere. I've been out here for 5 years, and I've never seen a coyote in Iowa City. So there just aren't urban coyotes out here for the most part? They just stay out in the open areas?
I wouldn't surprise me they'll venture into town. You just may not see them because they're pretty nocturnal. I know there was a concern here at Shoeyville one time, and I told them put up a trail camera, and it was just all coyotes running through. So Iowa City, I wouldn't be surprised to see them there. They may not see them on a regular basis. I've heard of red fox being spotted in Iowa City. I know Cedar Rapids has coyotes and fox both within the urban area. But a lot of times it's during the harsher weather where they're just trying to scavenge some food, you know, just to try to survive. So not saying there isn't any in Iowa City, but I think there's probably a few just not seen.
Well, I live in east side suburban Iowa City, and we do have red foxes out here. I've seen, I assume it's the red because you said the other one's pretty rare.
Yeah, yeah. If it's a reddish colored and they got a white tip to their tail.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have
that's
seen
what
those
they're
in the neighborhood.
Yep. They're pretty harmless.
Oh, sure. I love them.
Oh yeah, they're pretty
It's
animals.
so exciting.
Yeah.
I want to show my pictures of birds. I drew
Oh,
a
here we
few
go. Now we're
pictures of the-
talking.
I drew a
Okay,
few
well,
pictures. of the
Milana,
birds.
honey, why don't we wait with that? We're gonna finish up with Stephen first, and we're gonna see if there are any more questions for Stephen. And then when I open it up for everybody in the group, then you can go ahead and show your pictures. But right now, we're asking questions about the
Okay.
presentation. Okay, sweetie, but we want to see the pictures, just not right this
Oh yeah,
second.
we want to see those. They look good.
I had some more questions. Over the last 25 years or so, what have been the trends for the DNR's budget and number of employees?
Our there for a while, our budget was pretty tight. It's still kind of tight, but we've had record sales of licenses and tags from turkey to waterfowl to deer, even small game licenses. I think that was kind of dealt with the COVID situation where people just wanted to get out. And that's a good way to quarantine, if nothing else, I guess. But I think the budget is up a little bit, but we still maintain a pretty tight budget, but we get our work done. We are starting to hire more people here recently. We call them Pheasants Forever people that we partner with Pheasants Forever. We put them on. They're not a full-time DNR person, but we treat them as a technician, and they really do a lot of help us with our work in our wildlife areas. And I foresee more positions getting filled here as time goes along.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
How many staff people do you have that work out at Hawkeye Wildlife Area to manage that big place?
Okay, we got myself, of course, which I don't do much of the work. So, the guys do all the work. They're the backbone of the unit. But I got Dave Coots. He's a tech too. He does a lot for us. We got Tom Billerbeck. We got Dave Nicholson. And then we got Shannon Hansel. And then I got a temporary. So that's about 5 to 6, include me here. Otter Creek Marsh, we got 4. We got Rodney Ellenson. We got Adam Kulo. Rodney's a tech 2. Adam's a tech 1. We got Cole. He's a tech 1. And then we got Pheasants Forever person out there just hired, Blaine Becker. So yeah, that's we're kind of full staffed right now, and which is really nice to have.
Just an FYI, Drake just won by 1 point.
Wow. Wonder nobody's watching me tonight.
Yeah.
I'm watching both.
There was another question. They're wondering if you have heron or egret in the Hawkeye Wildlife Management Area.
I've seen great blues out here. I've seen the egrets, the white ones. I've seen a handful of them. I think there's the green heron, I believe. I've seen one of those, a couple of those from time to time, and we'd almost have to get out in the middle to see some of those, to really, find them. But yeah, they're around. You bet.
We have a beaver in Iowa City over on the west side and close to Willow Creek Park. You run into many beaver?
There's a lot of beaver here at Hawkeye area, and they really are kind of a nuisance in some places because for our wetland management, we try to manipulate the water levels, but they seem to plug the tubes with a dam or something, and then we can't let the water out when we want, or it gets overfull and they'll top a dike and cause damage that way too, from erosion stuff going over the top of the dike. So yeah, we got a lot of beaver out here. With the fur market down that it is, there's not a lot of trappers taking advantage of that. And there's a few that get them just for sport yet, but for really getting after the beaver to control the population without that fur market being up there, it's a challenge.
Someone is asking, can we exit the shared screen if you're done?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Then we can see more of the speakers.
Oh, I'm sorry. You betcha. How's
That's
that?
okay.
Good call. maybe you don't want to see this old mug here, but
Oh, no. They did. They asked for it.
no, once you mentioned that, I just triggered my thought. I know we mentioned earlier, for getting around the Hawkeye area, Swan Lake Road and that North Road, we call it, or James Avenue, is blocked off temporarily until that road firms up. We just put a lot of money invested into that last fall. And we've experienced in the past where there's certain individuals that like to go four-wheeling and tear it up when it's soft. And then there's a lot of money reinvested to manage those roads, and that takes away from other habitat funds that we could use. So, but that just to give you a heads up, when that road firms up, we'll get it opened up again if people want to get around it out and about again. So.
Can
Peter
willows,
asked about beavers. What about otters? Do you have otters out there?
Yeah, there's some otters. I've seen, signs of them out there. I don't know how many there are, but I do see signs of otters. They're pretty popular all up and down the Iowa River and Cedar River. I've seen them at Otter Creek. That's the name, I guess. But it's yeah, they're pretty popular up and down that Iowa River. And then there's bobcats around too. I don't know if you guys are interested in that, but there's a few bobcats here at the Hawkeye Wildlife Area and up and down the Iowa River corridor. So they're out there too. They're kind of a neat animal.
Have you seen them, or are they pretty hard to see?
They're nocturnal, very secretive, hard to see. What was weird is I picked up a roadkill just on the southeast edge of Cedar Rapids in a really odd spot. I don't know why it was there, but it got hit by a car, and we collect it, and then we send it to research, and they do reproductive studies on it and so forth. And then there's a roadkill over by Chelsea also. And I think one was trapped here in the Hawkeye Wildlife Unit last year. So they're out there. So, yeah.
are you able to use burns to control trees in the grasslands?
That's a very good question. That is one of our management tools. I'm glad you brought it up. I actually kind of forgot that. Fire is a big management tool we use usually in the spring to set back brush. That's a big component there. And also enhances native grass and forbs and to regerminate, because these native plants thrive on fire and they need that too. But it's been a battle trying to get some good fires out there because we've had some wet conditions, and then when the wet conditions are really good, and then they throw a burn fire ban on us, and then we can't burn during the ban, and that's the best time to burn. But I kind of get it, I guess, because it's so volatile. You don't want to, an escape or anything like that.
I have a question. I was wondering, well, as a birder, I do not buy a fishing license or a hunting license. And, I'm wondering if there's a best place I can donate money to support wildlife habitat.
There's that checkoff yet, I believe, available. Or if you want to donate money to like the Natural Heritage Foundation, they really help in our habitat work, and yeah, that's a pretty good outlet that way. Oh, I see some pictures. Looks pretty good from this angle.
More questions for Stephen? Well, thank you so much for your time. I thought that was really interesting.
Well, thank
and
you.
as I said, so many birders use that area that it's really nice to know how it's managed.
Sure.
So
I'd be happy to take a look at some pictures there if she's got a minute.
okay,
Yeah,
all right.
it is time for bird pictures.
Oh, look at that.
Ooh.
That's
You can't
wonderful.
do that.
This is a whooping crane.
Wow.
Great. How
Nice. You got some talent.
about the other bird?
Have any more?
At the top of the picture?
I drew these while the slides were going, and these were some of the birds on the slides.
Man, she is good. Good for you.
Okay.
Also, I marked all the drawings of birds with pencils. There's a mourning dove.
Nice. Oh, that's a great
Ooh,
job.
nice, honey.
Wow. Amazing.
Mourning dove.
I can't even draw a stick dove.
Doves don't look like sticks.
Blue jay.
Wow,
Oh,
very nice.
Yeah. Neat, sweetie.
What's
How
that other
long did it
picture
take
of?
you to draw one of those?
Penguins?
Nice. I
Hang
haven't
on.
seen one of those yet.
Yeah.
But if we do, we know it's cold out.
Yeah. We should have had them this winter if you were gonna have them.
Definitely.
It was one cold winter.
Ooh,
Ooh,
that's
look
a
at
good
the
one.
woodpecker.
Is that a downy woodpecker?
What is it?
I don't remember what is it.
Okay, maybe Harrier, downy?
Looks like
Oh,
a downy or a red belly.
Yeah. Nice.
Definitely a woodpecker. I think it's a
Oh.
It's a bird. The bird.
Nice.
Kite.
Ooh,
I think it was black kite.
Ah,
wow,
Nice.
that's a good one.
One more.
It's a blue jay and another jay.
Nice.
Right.
Very good.
Very
thank
good.
you for sharing.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you, dear.
That's awesome. You
Very
keep it
nice.
up.
Thank
That's
you.
really good.
Yeah.
Thanks. I said there was a few other birds that I either lost the pictures, but I also have a pile of pictures of mythical birds that I like to draw.
Ah,
Okay. All
Nice.
right. Well, let's move along. I'm gonna, Stephen, you can leave. We won't have our feelings hurt, but you're certainly welcome to stay.
Okay,
Just a couple of announcements. Our newsletter will be coming soon. Probably the end of the month, I'm guessing. But anyway, there will be a spring newsletter, and it will include any announcements that we've got. But Chris is going to manage a spring madness like we had last year. It was March Madness, but he wanted to do it later in the season so we could get more birds, which is a mixed blessing. You can't rest after 30 or 35. You have to keep going because there's more birds out there. And that announcement will be coming along soon too. So we haven't missed it. It's just going to be later. He's thinking end of April, middle to end of April, into May, if I remember correctly. Lynn, does that sound right?
I think it was early April.
Early April.
So-
Okay.
Because it might stretch for 4 weeks, depending on how many people sign up. It would go 3 or 4 weeks. So yeah.
Okay.
I have a question for Karen.
Karen, unmute yourself.
She's
Okay, I'm here.
There you go. Are you still planning on the Pelican Fest this fall, or is that still up in the air with the COVID situation?
We have a probable date of September 12th, and we probably won't make a final decision till July.
Okay, all right, that's good to
You
know.
know, we're just trying to be careful, you
Yes.
know. I think it'll be a go, but you don't know with these variants and stuff
Mhm.
what might happen.
All right,
So
well, just keep us posted.
yeah, so pencil it in.
Okay, September 12th.
Yeah,
Okay.
September 12th, pencil it in.
Okay.
And we're really hoping that we'll be able to do it. It's an outside event, you know, and we've had 300 to 500 people come, you know,
Mhm.
and of course we have to, the water can't be dry.
Right, right.
Can't be dry.
Right.
So,
You need pelicans.
Very good.
And you need pelicans, right?
oh yeah, well, I saw pelicans out there today, but they were in the air.
Okay,
The water was really rough
yeah.
with all the wind.
Well,
Okay.
and I want to make an announcement for people who don't know about this. Some of you guys do know, but the Rowe Audubon Center in Kearney has a live cam that runs 24 hours a day, and you can watch the migration from the comfort of your living room. And it is absolutely fabulous. It is just breathtaking. So if you have a smart TV, you just log onto your YouTube channel and then just do a search for Rowe, R-O-W-E, crane cam, and it'll come right up. Otherwise, you can just do a search on your computer and you can watch it from your computer, but it is super cool to watch it on a television screen. So it's the Rowe crane cam and it's just fabulous. So,
and those are sandhill cranes through Nebraska, is that correct? Or?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and there's, I think I read on the website, there's something like 170,000 like at this point.
Yes.
So there's quite a few and it's just fabulous. I mean,
Wow.
it's,
The time
I
of
was
day
saying,
makes
I've seen them. What's that?
The time of day is important to watch them
Oh, yes,
Like,
dear.
at daybreak.
Sunrise and sunset.
Yeah.
So last week that was about 6:30 in the morning and now it's 7:30 in the morning. So it's more user friendly.
Mhm.
So yeah, 7:30-ish in the morning and 7:30-ish in the evening. So it's just
Very
breathtaking.
good.